woman moves with her husband to a small town near London. Soon after, an old man lays eyes on her. From that very moment, he falls head over heels in love. To win her, this old man will go to great lengths. Let's see what happens. The movie opens with an elderly man named Martin who lives in a small village in France. Martin works as a baker. He explains that he came here from Paris 7 years ago. His father used to run this bakery, and now Martin manages it with his wife. One day while baking, he accidentally burns the bread. When his wife asks why he's distracted, he admits he's worried about Charlie. He fears Charlie might hurt himself. His wife reassures him, saying Charlie would never do such a thing. Martin later goes to check on Charlie and finds him burning his wife Gemma's belongings. Martin tells him not to be so angry with her, but Charlie continues throwing things into the fire, even Gemma's diary. When Charlie goes inside for a moment, Martin secretly looks through the box and slips the diary into his own pocket. At home, Martin begins reading Gemma's diary and learns about her. Gemma was not only a beautiful and charming woman, but also a devoted wife. Her marriage to Charlie had happened rather quickly, but the two were happy together. One day, Gemma discovered that Charlie was being transferred for work, which meant they would have to move to London. Excited about her new home, she packed up and the two set off in their car. After hours on the road, they finally arrived at their new house, located just a short distance from Martin's own home. When their car pulled up, Martin heard the sound outside. Curious, he stepped out and saw his new neighbors for the first time. He introduced himself, mentioned that he ran the local bakery, and invited them to stop by his shop. But during the conversation, Martin couldn't take his eyes off Gemma. Later at dinner with his wife and son, Martin told them about the new couple, Charlie and Gemma, who had moved in nearby. A few days later, Charlie and Gemma visited Martin's bakery. Martin saw Gemma up close and was instantly captivated by her beauty. When Gemma picked up some bread, she smelled it and asked how it was. Martin could barely answer. He was lost in the thought of how wonderful life would be if this woman were with him instead. Another woman named Lizzie entered the shop at that moment. She knew Charlie and Gemma casually and told him she often came to Martin's bakery for bread. Later, when Martin was walking his dog, he ran into Gemma, who was out in the garden with her own dog. Their dogs approached each other, sparking a conversation between them. Martin offered to show Gemma a nearby garden, since she was new to the area and didn't yet know her way around. Gemma loved the garden and chatted with Martin for a while before saying goodbye. But the way she said it, warm and sweet, gave Martin the feeling of falling in love. To him, it seemed like Gemma might even like him back. That night, Charlie came to Martin's house and told him that the power had gone out at his place. He requested Martin to come and fix it. For Martin, this felt like an opportunity. He went over to Charlie's house and repaired the electricity. Charlie and Gemma asked him to stay for a while, but just then Martin's wife also arrived, so Martin had to swallow his feelings and stay quiet. The four of them sat together, drinking and talking. The whole time Martin kept staring at Gemma. At one point, Gemma noticed his gaze and realized that this old man had a desire for her. Meanwhile, the old man kept thinking about how he might get closer to her. After drinks, everyone went back to their homes to sleep. The next morning, it started raining heavily. From his house, Martin tried to get a glimpse of Gemma. On the other side, Gemma and Charlie were troubled inside their own home because water was dripping from the roof. Gemma rushed to close the windows, and that's when she saw Martin looking toward her. Later, once the rain stopped, Gemma came to Martin's bakery to buy bread. She sniffed the bread for a while, enjoying its aroma. Seeing this, Martin asked her if she didn't like the bread. Gemma replied that she loved the smell, so Martin offered to show her how he made it. She agreed, and he took her into the bakery. Inside, Gemma tried her hand at making bread. Martin asked her how it felt, and Gemma said it felt like she was exercising because the bakery was so hot inside. She even removed her outer layer of clothing because of the heat. Watching her body, Martin felt a surge of passion. He stared, and when Gemma caught his gaze, she just smiled. Martin thought to himself that his chances were improving. The next day, when Martin was out walking, he spotted Gemma. She gestured for him to come over, but as soon as he got close, she dropped a book from her hand. When Martin picked it up, he asked if she wanted to read it. Gemma refused. Martin explained that the book was about the depths of love, but Gemma wasn't interested in him at all. She was simply being polite as a neighbor. Later, when Gemma came to the bakery, she ran into her friend Lizzie, who was there with her boyfriend to buy bread. Lizzie invited Gemma and Charlie to a small party at her house. At the lunch gathering, Martin, his wife, Charlie, Gemma, Lizzie, and her boyfriend were all there. Everyone was drinking and chatting, but Martin's eyes were only on Gemma. When Gemma later visited her friend's house, her friend told her that women should always take good care of their bodies, which is why she exercised daily. Gemma liked this idea and decided to start jogging the very next day. Meanwhile, Martin was still searching for excuses to meet her. One day, he ran into Gemma on the road. He asked why she hadn't come for bread in so long. Gemma told him she was on a diet and had stopped eating bread. She then left, and the old man started walking away as well. Just then, Gemma felt a sting on her back. An insect had bitten her, causing her pain. She called Martin over and asked him to check. When Martin looked, he said it was a poisonous insect bite and that he would need to remove her clothing a bit to suck the poison out. In pain, Gemma agreed, asking him to do it quickly. Then Martin starts wondering what to do next. Gemma tells him to hurry up and do whatever needs to be done so that the poison from the insect won't spread too much. After that, Martin begins sucking the poison out of Gemma's body. Just then, a boy named Hervé arrives. He asks Martin what he's doing. While Martin is explaining everything to Hervé, Gemma suddenly faints and collapses. Seeing this, both of them rush her to the hospital. There, the doctor gives Gemma some medicine and says there's nothing to worry about anymore. Martin waits at the hospital for Gemma to regain consciousness. When she wakes up, she thanks the old man. On the way back to the village, Gemma rests her head on Martin's shoulder and falls asleep. Seeing this makes Martin very happy. He starts to think that Gemma might like him too. When Gemma gets home, Lizzie and her boyfriend are there to see her. Gemma greets them, but then she notices an old photo of her first boyfriend. Looking at it makes her recall where they first met. But one day, she had caught him with another girl, which broke her heart, and she ended the relationship. She cried a lot back then, and Lizzie was the one who comforted her. Although Gemma later married Charlie, she never truly felt happy. She writes all of these feelings down in her diary. The next day, when Martin is outside his bakery, he sees Gemma coming to buy some things. Hervé shows up as well and starts asking Gemma how she's doing. Watching them, Martin immediately suspects that something might soon happen between the two of them. Hervé tries to flirt with Gemma and even gives her a gift. At first, Gemma refuses to take it, but after Hervé insists, she accepts it and leaves. Later, Martin tells his wife about this, but she advises him not to interfere in other people's lives. That evening, when Gemma gets home, Charlie tells her that he's organized a party and asked her to go into town to buy some drinks. So Gemma drives to the city to pick them up. At the mall, she runs into Hervé again. Hervé tells her about his favorite wine, and Gemma decides to buy it. Then Hervé invites her to his house to drink together, and Gemma agrees. Meanwhile, Martin is delivering bread on his way home when he sees Gemma and starts following her without her noticing. He thinks she's heading back to her house, but instead he sees her going into Hervé's place. This shocks Martin. He tells himself that Gemma probably just went there for some wine. He waits in his car outside, expecting her to come out soon. But a long time passes and she still doesn't appear. The old man stares anxiously, lost in thought. Inside the house, however, Gemma and Hervé are getting closer. Meanwhile, outside, Martin convinces himself that they're probably just drinking, and eventually he drives away sadly. That night, a party is held at Gemma's house. When Martin comes over for dinner, he notices a love bite on Gemma's neck. Seeing that, he immediately realizes that Gemma and Hervé have been intimate. This makes Martin really sad because he too used to dream of being romantic with Gemma. From her expressions, it looks like Gemma spent a wonderful day with Hervé. She seems very happy, but for Martin, it's nothing but heartache. The next morning, while Martin is out walking, he spots Hervé. Hervé looks very stressed and is talking to someone on the phone. Martin asks him if he's okay. Hervé tells him that he just can't focus on his studies at all. Martin suggests that he should invite his girlfriend over because maybe she could help him with his studies. Later, Martin sees Gemma going somewhere, and then we see her arriving at Hervé's house. The two of them passionately make love. Days go by like this, and during all this time, Martin can think of nothing but Gemma. His sadness keeps growing day by day, because now Gemma was clearly in love with Hervé. One day, Gemma comes to Martin's bakery and tells him that Charlie will be out of town for a few days. She buys some bread and leaves. Martin wants to ask her something, but since his wife is there, he holds back. As Gemma leaves, a few loaves of bread slip from her bag. Later, Martin takes the bread to her house, but as he arrives, he hears some noises. Curious, he hides and peeks in through the window. Inside, he sees Gemma and Hervé making love again. Afterward, Gemma tells Hervé, "I love you." Hearing that crushes Martin. He walks back home heartbroken. That night, Martin can't sleep, just thinking about Gemma. His wife comes over and asks him if something is wrong, but Martin brushes it off with an excuse. The next day, Gemma's husband comes back home. Soon after, Gemma happily heads out of the house. Her husband watches her leave, and when he asks where she's going, she tells him she's just going for a walk. But Gemma is clever. She slips on her sandals and sneaks out through the back gate. Martin, from his house, sees her leaving. He wants to follow her immediately, but his son shows up asking him for money. After giving his son the money, Martin hurries after Gemma. Gemma arrives once again at Hervé's house, and the two start making love. During this, Gemma accidentally breaks a statue belonging to Hervé's mother. Hervé is upset and says, "My mom is going to scold me for this." Gemma tells him not to worry. She'll ask her husband to fix it, since he's a blacksmith. Before leaving, Gemma tells Hervé, "We should run away to London together." Hervé agrees to go with her. When Gemma returns home, Martin is standing there, silently watching her. He thinks to himself that he'll have to do something to separate the two of them. The next day, Gemma comes to Martin's bakery again. While buying bread, she tells him that she's leaving for London for good. Hearing this hits Martin like a bolt of lightning. He thinks, "I never even got to be with her, and now she's leaving me forever. How will I live alone? I truly loved her." Just then, his wife notices his sadness and asks why he looks so down, but Martin ignores her. Back home, Martin writes a letter in Hervé's name and secretly slips it into Gemma's house. The next morning, Gemma receives a letter. After reading it, she goes to meet Hervé, but her husband Charlie notices her. In fact, Charlie had already started to suspect that his wife was having an affair with Hervé. Gemma tries calling Charlie, but he doesn't pick up, so she sends him a message instead. Meanwhile, Hervé is at home when his mother arrives. Noticing that her favorite statue is missing, she asks Hervé about it. Hervé tells her that it had a few scratches, so he sent it to get repaired. Just then, Hervé receives a message from Gemma in which she asks him to run away with her to London. But Hervé can't go with her now. He replies that he won't be going to London because he has to travel to Paris with his mother. Reading this devastates Gemma. Heartbroken and crying, she returns home. Her love for Hervé had been genuine, and now she feels completely shattered. Meanwhile, Hervé leaves for Paris with his mother, and Martin happens to see them leaving. Inside, Martin feels relieved and even happy. Later, Hervé's mother goes to Charlie and asks about the missing statue. Charlie says he has no statue, which makes her furious. She storms off angrily. Charlie becomes convinced that Gemma and Hervé were indeed having an affair. Charlie then confronts Gemma about the statue, but she denies everything. Gemma tries to tell him the truth about Hervé, but she can't bring herself to say it. Charlie is sure she's deceiving him, so in anger, he goes back to London. The next day, as Martin is heading home, he finds Gemma's dog. He picks it up and brings it back to her house. There, Gemma gives him a letter to read because it's written in French. The letter is from Hervé's mother, demanding the statue back. She warns that if Gemma doesn't return it, there could be legal trouble. Gemma then asks Martin to help her write a reply. Martin says he'll prepare the response in a day or two. As Gemma stands by the window, Martin gazes at her closely. Noticing his eyes on her, Gemma comes and sits beside him. Suddenly, a mouse runs near Gemma's feet. Startled, she panics, but Martin quickly grabs it and throws it outside, calming her down. A few days later, Gemma meets her ex-boyfriend Patrick, who comes to apologize to her. When the two meet, there's sadness between them, but also love. Martin happens to see them kissing, and he's completely shocked. He thinks to himself that Gemma isn't a good woman. She can be romantic with anyone. Heartbroken, he goes to the church, sits quietly, and broods over Gemma in sorrow. Meanwhile, Gemma tells Patrick that what she did with him in the past few days was a mistake. She wants to correct her wrongs. She then calls her husband, apologizes, and tells him that she truly wants to stay with him. The next day, when Martin meets Gemma, he gives her a letter he has written. After looking at it, Gemma realizes the handwriting is the same as the earlier letter she had received. Now she understands it was Martin who had written that letter to provoke Hervé's mother. She asks him why he did it, and Martin admits that he wanted to keep Hervé away from her, saying Hervé wasn't a good man. Then Martin confesses that he loves her. Gemma now understands Martin's intentions. She kisses him, and from that moment, their affair begins. Martin even bakes her the finest bread he can and leaves it outside her house as a gift. The following day, Gemma's boyfriend comes to take her to London. He picks up Martin's bread and gives it to Gemma. Holding it, Gemma realizes that Martin was the one who truly loved her. She and her boyfriend enter the house, but at that very moment, Charlie returns from London. When he goes inside and sees what's happened, he comes out screaming for help. Martin, shocked and confused, rushes over to Charlie's house. Inside, he sees Gemma lying dead. The sight leaves both men in complete shock. The police arrive and take Gemma's body away for an autopsy. Later, when the report comes, Martin goes to learn the cause of death. He is stunned to hear that Gemma died because a piece of bread got stuck in her throat. At Gemma's funeral the next day, Martin tells Charlie, "My bread killed your wife." Charlie replies, "Yes, her death was caused by that bread." But then he adds that when he came home, he saw Patrick with Gemma Gemma, and thinking Patrick was making love to her, he started a fight. In the chaos, the tragedy happened. Just then, Patrick arrives and confesses that Gemma's death was his fault. He explains that when Gemma was eating bread, he came up behind her and started kissing her. The bread got stuck in her throat, and as he tried to help her, Charlie walked in. Because of the misunderstanding, Charlie and Patrick fought each other, ignoring Gemma. In the struggle, they failed to save her, and she suffocated. The next day, Hervé visits Gemma's grave to lay flowers. He blames himself for her death. Meanwhile, Charlie is seen burning Gemma's clothes. The flashback ends here. We then see Martin's son, who tells him that a Russian couple has moved into the neighborhood. Hearing this, Martin goes to meet them, and in his mind, he begins imagining them as another Gemma and Charlie. And that's where the movie ends.